The colony of New Busan died in silence. One moment, 50,000 people lived their ordinary lives on the distant world. The next moment, massive alien warships appeared in the sky. The Vrak Dominion had arrived, and they showed no mercy. Captain Daehyun watched the recorded footage from his command chair. The video showed buildings melting under energy beams, people running through streets that turned to glass from the heat, children crying, then nothing, just static and death. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. This was the 17th human colony the Vrak had destroyed in 3 months. 17 worlds, millions of people, gone. Captain, we're receiving new orders from Earth Command, said Commander Minji from her station. She was his second in command, a woman who rarely showed emotion. But even her voice carried a hint of worry now. Daehyun opened his eyes and looked at her. What are the orders? We're to proceed to Hanseong Station immediately. Full speed. They want us to evacuate as many civilians as possible before the Vrak arrive. Minji paused and added quietly, Sir, intelligence suggests the Vrak fleet is already on its way there. The bridge fell silent. Every officer knew what that meant. The UNS Indomitable was fast, but they might not arrive in time. And even if they did, what could one ship do against a Vrak armada? Chief Engineer Hunwoo spoke up from his console. Captain, if we push the engines past safety limits, we can cut travel time by 6 hours. It'll stress the systems, but she'll hold together. Daehyun nodded. Do it, every hour matters. Those are our people out there. The Indomitable was not an ordinary ship. Built in secret over 5 years, it represented humanity's desperate attempt to match alien technology. Earth scientists had studied every piece of crashed alien vessel they could find. They had reverse-engineered systems that shouldn't be possible. The result was this ship, a weapon designed to fight enemies far more advanced than humanity. But it was still just one ship, and the Vrak had hundreds. Lieutenant Jiwon, the weapons officer, turned in her seat. Sir, permission to speak freely? Granted. The crew knows what we're flying into. We all lost someone to the Vrak. My brother died on New Seoul. Minji lost her parents on Jeju Station. Half the crew has similar stories. She straightened her shoulders. What I'm saying is we're ready. Whatever happens at Hansong Station, we're ready to fight. Daehyun looked around the bridge. He saw determination in every face. These were good people, brave people. They deserved better than to die fighting an impossible war. But they would fight anyway because that's what humans did. They fought for each other. I know you are, Lieutenant, and I'm proud to serve with all of you. The ship jumped to faster than light speed, hurtling through space toward Hanseong Station. Hours passed in tense silence. The crew prepared weapons, ran diagnostics, and waited. Dr. Suman, the lead scientist who had helped design the ship's systems, moved between stations checking readiness. When they were 2 hours from Hansong Station, sensors picked up something that made everyone's blood run cold. Captain, I'm detecting multiple Vrak signatures ahead, reported the sensor officer. His hands shook slightly as he read the data. Sir, it's not a small raiding party. I count 5 Vrak dreadnoughts. They're already at the station, 5 dreadnoughts. Each one was 3 times larger than the Indomitable. Each one carried enough firepower to glass a planet. Together, they represented an unstoppable force. Minji pulled up tactical displays. The station has 2 million people on it, sir. It's a civilian hub, minimal defenses. The Vrak are surrounding it in a standard execution pattern. Daehyun stared at the display. Execution pattern. That's what the Vrak used when they wanted to destroy something completely. They would position their ships in a sphere around the target and fire simultaneously. Nothing inside would survive. The station would simply cease to exist. How long until they fire? He asked. Based on their usual patterns, 30 minutes. Maybe less, 30 minutes. He had 30 minutes to save 2 million people from 5 ships that outgunned him massively. The smart move would be to run. Save his ship and crew for another day. That's what Fleet Command would probably order if they had time to consult them. But Daehyun thought about New Busan, about the children crying in the streets, about his crew members who had lost family to these monsters, about 2 million people who were about to die if someone didn't stop it. He stood up from his command chair. All hands, battle stations. Hyunwoo, I need every bit of power you can give me. Weapons, prepare all railgun batteries and missile tubes. Minji, plot us an intercept course. Put us between those dreadnoughts and the station. The bridge erupted in controlled chaos as everyone moved to execute his orders. But Minji stood and faced him directly. Sir, you know this is suicide. 5 against 1. We can't win this. Maybe not, Daehyun said calmly. But we can buy time. Every minute we keep them busy is another minute for those civilians to evacuate. Besides, I'm tired of running. I'm tired of watching colonies die while the Galactic Council does nothing. I'm tired of the Vrak thinking humans are easy prey. He turned to address the entire bridge crew. I won't lie to you. This will be the hardest fight we've ever faced. We're probably going to die. But those 2 million people deserve a chance. And we're going to give it to them. If anyone wants to object, speak now. Nobody spoke. Instead, Jiwon called out, "Weapons ready, sir." Hyunwoo reported, "Engines at maximum output." One by one, every station confirmed readiness. Daehyun felt pride swell in his chest. This was humanity. This was what made them special. They didn't have the strongest weapons or the biggest ships, but they had courage. They had determination, and they never abandoned their own. "Take us in," he ordered. The Indomitable dropped out of faster-than-light speed directly between the Vrak Armada and Hansong Station. On the view screen, the 5 massive dreadnoughts hung in space like harbingers of death. They were dark, brutal things covered in weapons and armor. Each one was a nightmare made real. Inside the lead dreadnought, War Master Kraloth stared at his displays in confusion. A single human ship had just appeared and positioned itself between his fleet and their target. One ship, was this a joke? Daehyun opened a communication channel. His face appeared on the view screens of all 5 Vrak ships. "This is Captain Daehyun of the United Nations Starship Indomitable. You will cease your attack on this station and withdraw immediately. This is your only warning." For a moment there was silence. Then Kraloth's laughter echoed across the channel. It was a harsh, cruel sound. "Foolish human. You dare challenge the Vrak Dominion? You will die first and we will still destroy your station. Your bravery means nothing." Daehyun's expression didn't change. "Then let's find out." He closed the channel and looked at his crew. "Show them what humans can do." War Master Kraloth stopped laughing when the first railgun rounds hit his shields. The Vrak had fought hundreds of species across the galaxy. They knew every type of weapon. Energy beams, plasma cannons, missile systems. Their shields could handle them all. But railguns were different. These were simple kinetic weapons that fired solid metal slugs at incredible speeds. The Vrak shields were designed to disperse energy, not stop physical mass traveling at a fraction of light speed. The first volley from the Indomitable punched through the shield of the nearest dreadnought like it wasn't even there. "Impossible," Kraloth roared as he watched hull plating tear apart on his companion ship. "Return fire. All vessels, destroy that human ship now." The 5 Vrak dreadnoughts opened fire simultaneously. Dozens of energy beams lanced through space, each one powerful enough to cut through a mountain. They converged on the Indomitable from all directions. It should have been the end. Instead, something strange happened. The Indomitable's shields flared to life, glowing bright blue. But instead of shattering under the assault, they absorbed the energy. The beams hit the shields and simply vanished, their power redirected into the ship's own systems. "Adaptive shielding working perfectly, Captain," Dr. Suman called out from her station. "We're converting their energy weapons into power for our own systems. The more they shoot, the stronger we get." Daehyun allowed himself a small smile. This was the secret weapon Earth's scientists had developed. Humanity couldn't match alien technology directly, so they learned to turn that technology against itself. Adaptive shields that fed on energy attacks, railguns that bypassed modern defenses, speed and maneuverability that made the ship almost impossible to hit. Minji, evasive pattern delta. Keep us moving. Don't let them get a bead on us with physical weapons. "Aye, sir." The Indomitable danced through space, moving with grace that shouldn't be possible for a warship. Lieutenant Jiwon continued firing the railguns, each shot calculated and precise. Another volley struck the damaged dreadnought, this time hitting something critical. A massive explosion bloomed from inside the alien ship as its reactor went critical. "1 down. 4 to go. Impossible," Kraloth said again, but this time his voice held fear. "Commander Thraz, what are our casualties?" Thraz, his second-in-command, checked the reports. "The Destroyer of Worlds is gone, War Master. All hands lost. The other vessels report shield failures. Their energy weapons are useless against this human ship. Then use missiles. Use mass drivers. Kill them!" The Vrak ships changed tactics. Hundreds of missiles launched from their tubes, filling space with explosive death. Mass driver weapons, essentially huge railguns of their own, began firing. These were physical weapons the adaptive shields couldn't simply absorb. "Incoming missiles," the sensor officer shouted. "More than I can count." Daehyun gripped his command chair. This was the moment of truth. Point defense systems engage. Minji, get us closer to that station. Use it for cover. The Indomitable's point defense lasers came to life, shooting down missiles by the dozens. But there were too many. Explosions rocked the ship as several missiles got through. Warning alarms blared across the bridge. Hull breaches on Deck 7 and 8, Hyunwoo reported. Sealing bulkheads. We've lost power to secondary systems. A mass driver round grazed the ship's side, tearing away armor plating. Another hit knocked out one of the main railgun batteries. The Indomitable was tough, but it couldn't take this kind of punishment forever. Captain, if we keep taking damage like this, we'll lose engine power. Hyunwoo shouted over the noise. And if that happens, we're dead. Daehyun made a decision. Jiwon, forget spread patterns. Focus all remaining firepower on a single target. That dreadnought on our left. I want it gone. Yes, sir. Every working weapon on the Indomitable turned toward one Vrak ship. Railguns fired in sequence, each shot hitting the same location on the dreadnought's hull. The alien ship tried to maneuver, but it was too slow. The focused assault punched through armor, through internal bulkheads, through critical systems, and finally into the reactor core. The second Vrak dreadnought exploded in a flash that lit up space like a small sun. 2 down, 3 to go. But the Indomitable was badly damaged and running on borrowed time. Sir, we're getting a transmission from Hanseong Station, Minji said. They've begun evacuation procedures. Civilian transports are launching, but they need at least 20 more minutes to get everyone off. 20 minutes. Daehyun looked at the tactical display. 3 dreadnoughts were repositioning, trying to surround them. The Indomitable was damaged and outnumbered. 20 minutes might as well be 20 years. Then we give them 20 minutes, he said firmly. Hyunwoo, reroute all non-essential power to engines and weapons, life support, gravity systems, everything. We don't need comfort, we need firepower. Captain, that's extremely dangerous. If we take another hit to the power systems, we could lose everything. Do it anyway. Hyunwoo nodded and began routing power. The lights on the bridge dimmed. The comfortable gravity started to fluctuate. But the weapons charged faster and the engines burned brighter. The Indomitable accelerated toward the nearest dreadnought at impossible speed. The Vrak ship tried to bring weapons to bear, but the human ship was already past it, firing railguns directly into its engines as it passed. The dreadnought listed to one side, engines destroyed, effectively dead in space. 3 down. 2 to go, but Kraloth was learning. He ordered his remaining 2 ships to fly close together, covering each other's weak points. They stopped trying to chase the nimble human ship, and instead positioned themselves to block any path to the station. Captain, the evacuations are only halfway complete, Minji reported. And those 2 dreadnoughts are between us and the civilian transports. If they fire now, they'll destroy the evacuation ships. Daehyun saw the trap. Kraloth couldn't catch the Indomitable, so he was forcing a choice. Let the dreadnoughts kill the civilian ships or get between them and take the damage himself. Either way, humans died. What are our options? Daehyun asked. Jiwon checked her weapons. We have enough firepower to maybe kill 1 more dreadnought. But not both. Not before they destroy those transports. Dr. Suman spoke up. Captain, I have an idea. It's risky, but it might work. If we overload the adaptive shields and release all the stored energy at once, we could create an electromagnetic pulse. It would disable both dreadnoughts temporarily. What's the risk? It would knock out our own systems too. We'd be dead in space for at least 5 minutes. Completely defenseless. If they recover before we do, they'll tear us apart. Daehyun didn't hesitate. Do it. Minji. Position us directly between those dreadnoughts and the evacuation ships. When we fire the pulse, they won't be able to hurt anyone for 5 minutes. That should be enough time for the transports to escape. And us, sir? Minji asked quietly. We'll deal with that problem when we come to it. Execute. The Indomitable moved into position, placing itself as a shield between the Vrak and the fleeing civilians. Dr. Suman began overloading the adaptive shields, storing more and more energy. The shields glowed brighter and brighter, changing from blue to white to almost blinding. Releasing pulse in 3, 2, 1. Now, a wave of electromagnetic energy exploded from the Indomitable in all directions. It washed over the 2 Vrak dreadnoughts, and suddenly their systems went dark. Weapons offline. Engines offline. Everything dead. But the Indomitable went dark too. The bridge lights died. The displays went black. Even life support stopped humming. For a moment there was only silence and darkness. Then slowly, emergency lights flickered on. Red lights cast strange shadows across the bridge. Hyunwoo worked frantically at his station, trying to bring systems back online. Come on, he muttered. Work, you stubborn machine. Work. 1 minute passed. The civilian transports were fleeing at full speed, putting distance between themselves and the battlefield. 2 minutes. The Vrak systems were still dark, but that wouldn't last forever. 3 minutes. Hyunwoo got auxiliary power online. 4 minutes, main power restored, Hyunwoo shouted triumphantly. Weapons charging. Engines online. Fire everything at those dreadnoughts, Daehyun ordered. Before they wake up. The Indomitable's railguns spoke again, and this time the Vrak couldn't defend themselves. Both dreadnoughts died within seconds of each other, torn apart by concentrated fire. 5 down. 0 to go. The bridge erupted in cheers. They had done it. Against impossible odds, they had won. The Vrak Grand Fleet arrived at Earth expecting terror. They expected desperate pleas for mercy. They expected an easy victory that would restore their reputation after the embarrassment at Hansong Station. What they found instead was humanity's entire military force waiting in battle formation. War Master Kraloth stared at his tactical display in disbelief. 30 human warships hung in space around Earth's orbit, arranged in a defensive sphere. Each ship matched the design of the Indomitable. Each ship was a threat. Where did they get these ships? He roared at his officers. Intelligence said humans had only one experimental vessel. Commander Thraz consulted his datapad, his hands shaking. War Master, our intelligence was wrong. It appears humans have been building a secret fleet for years. We walked into a trap. Silence. 40 dreadnoughts and 200 support ships against 30 primitive vessels. We still have overwhelming numbers. They cannot defeat us. But even as Kraloth spoke, doubt crept into his voice. 5 ships against 1 had seemed overwhelming too, and the Indomitable had destroyed them all. On Earth, Admiral Youngmi watched the Vrak fleet positioning itself from the command center. President Sohee stood beside her, along with military leaders from every nation. This was it. Everything humanity had built, everything they had become, would be decided in the next few hours. Admiral, you have full authority, President Sohee said quietly. Do whatever it takes. Save our world. Youngmi nodded and opened a channel to all 30 human warships. This is Admiral Youngmi to all vessels. You know what's at stake. Below us is Earth, our home. 6 billion people are counting on us. The galaxy thinks we're primitives who will die easily. Let's prove them wrong. All ships weapons free. Engage at will. On the Indomitable, Captain Daehyun heard the order and smiled. His ship was repaired and ready. His crew was rested and eager. Around him, 29 other captains prepared their own ships. Among them was Captain Taeyang on the UNS Defiance, known for his aggressive tactics. Captain Yoonji on the UNS Retribution, calm and calculating. Captain Junho on the UNS Vengeance, who had lost his entire family to the Vrak. They were ready. The battle began with a coordinated human strike. All 30 ships fired missiles simultaneously. Thousands of nuclear-tipped warheads streaked across space toward the Vrak fleet. The alien ships deployed countermeasures, shooting down missiles by the hundreds. But there were too many. The first wave overwhelmed Vrak point defenses. Nuclear fire bloomed across space as warheads detonated against Vrak shields. 5 dreadnoughts died immediately. Their shields overloaded and hulls shattered. Another dozen suffered heavy damage. The Vrak support ships scattered in panic, their formation breaking apart. Impossible, Kraloth screamed again. How do they have such firepower? The answer was simple. Humanity couldn't match alien technology and quality, so they focused on quantity. Each ship carried 10 times more missiles than a comparable alien vessel. When numbers were your weakness, you made numbers your strength. But the Vrak adapted quickly. Kraloth ordered his fleet to spread out, making it harder for area attacks to hit multiple ships. The dreadnoughts began firing back, their energy weapons and mass drivers reaching across the void. Several human ships took hits, their adaptive shields flaring as they absorbed energy attacks. The battle became a brutal exchange of fire. Captain Taeyang led a charge through the Vrak formation on the Defiance, his ship's railguns tearing into enemy vessels at close range. 3 Vrak ships tried to surround him, but he accelerated straight up, the sudden maneuver catching them by surprise. His railgun spoke and 2 more dreadnoughts died. Taeyang, get back in formation. Admiral Youngmi's voice crackled over the command channel. Can't hear you, Admiral, bad connection. Taeyang replied cheerfully as he dove back into the fight. His aggressive tactics were working, but they came at a cost. The Defiance took multiple hits, armor plating blasted away by Vrak weapons. Lieutenant Hajin led a squadron of human fighter craft, small and nimble ships piloted by brave volunteers. They swarmed around the larger vessels like angry insects targeting Vrak weak points. Hajin's fighter carried experimental missiles designed to punch through heavy armor. He locked onto a Vrak dreadnought's engine section and fired. The missile streaked through space and detonated, destroying the dreadnought's main drive. The massive ship began spinning out of control, unable to maneuver. Other fighters targeted it immediately, exploiting the advantage. Within minutes, another Vrak ship was dead, but the Vrak were killing human ships too. The UNS Guardian took a direct hit from 3 dreadnoughts simultaneously. Its shields failed, and energy beams cut through the hull like paper. The ship broke apart, killing everyone aboard. 300 lives lost in seconds. Guardian is down, someone shouted over the command channel. Keep fighting, Admiral Youngmi responded. Don't let their sacrifice be in vain. The battle raged for hours. Both sides took terrible casualties. Human ships used their superior speed and maneuverability to avoid the worst of the Vrak firepower. But there was nowhere to run. This was a fight to the death. 7 human warships were destroyed. 20 Vrak dreadnoughts were gone. The math favored the Vrak, but not by much. On the Indomitable, Daehyun coordinated with Minji to execute precision strikes. They had learned from the battle at Hansong Station. Their crew worked like a single organism, each person knowing their role perfectly. When a Vrak ship exposed its flank, they struck. When the enemy tried to focus fire, they moved. When an opening appeared, they took it, but War Master Kraloth was no fool. He saw the pattern. The Indomitable was the most effective human ship, its crew the most experienced. If he could destroy it, the rest would falter. He ordered 10 of his best dreadnoughts to focus entirely on Daehyun's vessel. Captain, we have multiple locks, the sensor officer warned. 10 ships targeting us simultaneously. Daehyun saw the trap closing. 10 ships. Even with all their advantages, they couldn't survive concentrated fire from 10 dreadnoughts. He could run, try to break away, but that would leave a gap in Earth's defenses. Other ships would die to cover his retreat. Hyunwoo, everything you have to shields and engines. Jiwon, fire at will on any target of opportunity. Minji, evasive pattern Omega. Sir, Omega pattern? Minji looked at him with concern. That's the suicide run pattern. I know what it is. Execute. The Indomitable accelerated directly toward the 10 Vrak ships. It was insanity. 10 against 1 flying straight at them. Every Vrak captain thought Daehyun had gone mad. They opened fire, certain of an easy kill, but Daehyun wasn't mad. He was calculating. The 10 ships were arranged in a rough line, all focused on his vessel. They were so confident of victory that they weren't watching their flanks. He accelerated past the first ship, so close that the 2 vessels nearly touched. The Vrak ship couldn't fire without hitting its own allies. He threaded the needle between 2 more dreadnoughts, his ship rolling and diving in ways that pushed the engines to their absolute limits. Railguns fired backwards as he passed, scoring hits on Vrak engines and weapons. The enemy ships tried to track him, but he was moving too fast, changing direction too quickly. And while 10 Vrak ships were focused entirely on the Indomitable, they weren't watching the other human vessels. Captain Yoonji on the Retribution saw the opening and took it. Her ship and 5 others concentrated fire on the distracted Vrak ships. 3 dreadnoughts exploded before they knew what hit them, but Daehyun couldn't avoid them all forever. A mass driver round clipped the Indomitable's stern, destroying the entire rear section. The ship shuddered and alarms blared. Another hit struck the bridge and the view screen exploded in sparks. Minji was thrown from her chair, blood running down her face. Hyunwoo's console erupted in flames. We're dead in space. Hyunwoo shouted, fighting the fire with an extinguisher. Main engine's gone! Power failing. Daehyun pulled himself up from where he'd fallen. Blood dripped from a cut on his forehead. Through the smoke and chaos, he saw the tactical display. The Vrak flagship was moving toward Earth's orbital platform, where thousands of civilians were sheltering. If that dreadnought reached the platform, everyone would die. He looked at his crew, at Minji, injured but still at her post, at Jiwon, desperately trying to bring weapons back online, at Hyunwoo, fighting fires with burns on his arms. These were his people. This was his family. Hyunwoo, can you give me one last burst from the engines? Just enough to intercept that flagship? Hyunwoo understood immediately what Daehyun was planning. His eyes widened. Captain, no. That's suicide. If we ram them at full speed, the collision will destroy both ships. Everyone dies. Not everyone, Daehyun said quietly. The civilians on that platform live. Earth survives. That's enough. He opened the ship-wide channel. All hands, this is the captain. I need volunteers to stay with me. Everyone else, get to the escape pods now. That's an order. For a moment, no one moved. Then Minji spoke. Sir, with respect, no. We started this fight together. We end it together. All of us. Around the bridge, every officer nodded. G1 at weapons. The sensor officer. The communications officer. Hyunwoo at engineering. None of them moved toward the escape pods. It's been an honor, Captain, Minji said. Daehyun felt pride and sorrow mix in his chest. The honor was mine. Hyunwoo, give me everything. One last time. The battle didn't end immediately when the Indomitable and the Vrak flagship died. It took another hour of brutal fighting, but War Master Kryloth's death broke the Vrak formation. Without his leadership, the alien fleet fell into chaos. Human ships pressed the advantage, targeting confused enemies and destroying them one by one. By the time the last Vrak ship either fled or was destroyed, the space around Earth looked like a graveyard. Debris floated everywhere, twisted metal and burning wreckage from both sides. Of the 30 human warships that started the battle, only 13 remained operational. The Vrak had lost 35 dreadnoughts and over 100 support ships. It was the most brutal space battle in galactic history. Commander Minji woke up in a medical bay, her head bandaged. For a moment she couldn't remember where she was. Then it came back in a rush. The battle. The collision. Captain Daehyun's sacrifice. She tried to sit up, but pain shot through her body. Easy, Commander, a medic said, gently pushing her back down. You were found in an escape pod. You were unconscious but alive. Escape pod? Minji was confused. I didn't get in an escape pod. I was on the bridge when we hit the flagship. The medic showed her a data pad with a report. Captain Daehyun activated the emergency ejection system for the bridge section. He launched all of you in escape pods before the collision. You were unconscious from your injuries, so you didn't realize. The captain and some volunteers stayed behind to ensure the ship hit its target. Minji closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. Even at the end, Daehyun had found a way to save his crew. He had made the sacrifice play, but he'd ensured as many people survived as possible. That was the kind of man he was. That was the kind of captain he was. Where am I? She asked. On the UNS Retribution. Captain Yoonji took command of the fleet after the Indomitable was destroyed. You're at Luna Station now. We won, Commander. Earth is safe. Minji nodded slowly. They had won. But the price had been terrible. Over 50,000 people dead, 17 ships destroyed or damaged beyond repair, and Captain Daehyun gone, along with hundreds of others who would never see their families again. 3 days later, Earth held a memorial service. Every nation participated. Billions watched as President Sohee stood before a monument bearing the names of the fallen. The air was cold, the sky gray. It seemed appropriate somehow. The galaxy was watching this broadcast too, through channels that had been opened after the battle. We gather today to remember the brave, President Sohee began. Her voice carried across the crowd and across the stars. Captain Daehyun and the crew of the UNS Indomitable, all those who gave their lives defending our home. They faced an enemy that should have been unbeatable. They fought when they could have run. They sacrificed themselves so others could live. She paused, looking directly at the cameras that would carry her words to every corner of the galaxy. But we also gathered to send a message. For too long, humanity was dismissed as primitive, as weak, as unworthy. The Galactic Council abandoned us when we asked for help. They watched as our colonies burned. They did nothing because they believed we didn't matter. Her voice grew harder, carrying steel beneath the sorrow. They were wrong. Humanity matters. We proved it in blood and fire. We destroyed the Vrak Grand Fleet. We defended our home. And we did it alone, without the Council's help, without their approval. We did it because that's what humans do. We survive, we fight, we never give up. President Sohee straightened, her eyes blazing with determination. From this day forward, the galaxy will treat humanity as equals. We have earned our place not through words or politics, but through the courage of people like Captain Daehyun. We will never again be ignored. We will never again be dismissed, and we will never again allow our people to face extinction without fighting back with everything we have. The crowd erupted in applause. On military bases across Earth and throughout human space, soldiers saluted. In homes, in schools, and offices, people stood in respect. Humanity had paid a terrible price, but they had won something precious. They had won respect. They had won survival. They had proven they belonged among the stars. On the Galactic Council station, the atmosphere was very different. Council members sat in uncomfortable silence as they watched President Sohi's speech. They had dismissed humanity as a minor species, a curiosity that would either be absorbed by stronger powers or fade into obscurity. They had been catastrophically wrong. Vorath, the Council Prime, addressed the Assembly. We must acknowledge reality. Humanity now possesses a military force capable of destroying major galactic powers. They demonstrated tactical brilliance and technological innovation. Most importantly, they demonstrated will, the willingness to fight and die for their own survival. A council member from the Trell Sovereignty spoke up. What do you propose? We offer humanity a seat on the council, full membership, with all rights and responsibilities. We recognize their sovereignty over their claimed territory, and we ensure this situation does not happen again. You want to reward them for violence? Another member protested. Vorath's expression was grim. I want to survive. Humanity just proved they can destroy fleets we thought were unbeatable. They did it with 30 ships. Admiral Youngme's report suggests they're already building more. In 5 years, they might have 100 warships. In 10 years, 200. Would you rather have them as allies or enemies? The council voted. It wasn't unanimous, but it didn't need to be. Humanity was offered full membership in the Galactic Council. Ambassador Siok, watching from the gallery, allowed himself a small smile. It had taken a war and thousands of deaths. But humanity finally had a voice in galactic affairs. 2 weeks after the battle, Fleet Admiral Minho stood in a shipyard orbiting Mars. Around him, workers were constructing the first of a new generation of warships, larger than the original 30, more heavily armed, incorporating lessons learned from the battle at Earth. A reporter approached him with questions about the construction program. Admiral, some alien species are concerned about humanity's military buildup. They say it makes the galaxy less safe. Minho looked at the reporter with tired eyes. You know what makes the galaxy less safe? Predators like the Vrak, hunting weaker species while the Council does nothing. Humanity will never again be weak. We will never again beg for protection from powers that don't care if we live or die. These ships aren't about conquest. They're about survival. They're about ensuring no one can do to us what the Vrak tried to do. But what if other species see this as a threat? Then they're welcome to try us, Minho said flatly. We don't want war. We don't seek conflict. But we will never back down from a fight. That's the message humanity is sending. We're willing to live in peace with anyone who respects us, but for those who see us as prey. He turned back to watch the construction. They'll learn the same lesson the Vrak learned. The hard way. In a quiet ceremony far from the public eye, Commander Minji was promoted to captain and given command of a new ship. The UNS Indomitable II, built to honor the legacy of the original. She stood on the bridge for the first time, running her hand along the captain's chair. Captain Daehyun's chair. Her chair now. Captain, all systems are ready for launch, reported the operations officer. The crew was new, young, eager. Many of them had joined the military after watching the battle recordings. They wanted to be like Daehyun, like the heroes who had saved Earth. Minji sat in the captain's chair and looked at the view screen showing Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel. So many people down there, so many lives saved by people who had died to protect them. She wouldn't let their sacrifice be forgotten. She wouldn't let anyone threaten her home again. Take us out, she ordered. Let's see what this ship can do. The Indomitable II left dock and accelerated into space, its engines burning bright. It was joined by 12 other new warships, the next generation of humanity's defense. They flew together in formation, a symbol of human determination and strength. On a distant world at the edge of Vrak space, a young Vrak warrior named Kral read the reports from the battle at Earth. His people had been so certain of victory. They had believed themselves superior to all other species. Now their grand fleet was destroyed, their war master dead, their empire shattered. But Kral didn't feel anger or shame. He felt curiosity. How had the humans done it? How had they turned certain defeat into victory? He began studying human tactics, human technology, human philosophy. Other Vrak called him a traitor for respecting the enemy. He didn't care. The Vrak Dominion sued for peace with humanity. They returned captured prisoners and paid reparations for the destroyed colonies. It wasn't justice, not really. Nothing could bring back the millions who had died. But it was acknowledgement. The Vrak, who had never admitted defeat, formally acknowledged they had lost. Other species throughout the galaxy watched and learned. The aggressive powers became more cautious. The peaceful species felt safer knowing humanity would stand against bullies. Trade routes that had been threatened by pirates became secure when human warships patrolled them. Slowly, carefully, humanity began to build relationships with other species based on mutual respect. A year after the battle, the Earth's sky was filled with ships from 100 different worlds. News traveled fast in the galaxy. Within hours, every species with faster-than-light communication knew about the battle at Hanzong Station. One human ship had destroyed 5 Vrak dreadnoughts. The Vrak Dominion, which had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, had been humiliated by primitives. On the Galactic Council Station, Ambassador Seok stood before hundreds of alien representatives. The council chamber was enormous, with seats arranged in circular tiers rising toward a domed ceiling. At the top sat the Council Prime, a being named Vorath who led the galaxy's most powerful alliance. "Honored council members," Seok said, his voice amplified across the chamber. "I present evidence of systematic genocide by the Vrak Dominion against human colonies. 17 worlds destroyed, over 8 million civilian deaths, and now proof that a single human vessel was forced to stand alone against a Vrak armada, while this council did nothing." He activated a holographic display. Images of destroyed colonies appeared, showing the devastation the Vrak had caused. Then footage from Hansong Station played, showing the desperate battle. The council members watched in silence as the Indomitable fought against impossible odds. When the footage ended, Vorath spoke. His voice was cold and dispassionate. "Ambassador Shuck, the council sympathizes with your losses. However, humanity is not a member species. Our charter forbids interference in conflicts involving non-members. This is a matter between humans and the Vrak. We cannot intervene." "Cannot or will not," Shuck demanded. "You hide behind rules while millions die. The Vrak have violated every galactic treaty on warfare. They target civilians. They glass entire planets. Where is justice?" A reptilian council member from the Drax Confederation hissed its response. "Justice is for those strong enough to claim it. If humanity cannot defend itself, perhaps humanity does not deserve to survive. This is the way of the galaxy." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Sayuk felt anger burning in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "Very well. Remember this day, honored council. Remember that when humanity needed help, you offered nothing. We will remember too." He turned and walked out of the chamber, his footsteps echoing in the silence. As the doors closed behind him, he allowed himself a bitter smile. The council thought humanity was weak. They thought humans would beg and plead for protection. They were about to learn otherwise. Back on Earth, Admiral Youngmi sat in the command center deep beneath Geneva. The room was filled with displays showing military installations across human space. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept in days. Probably because she hadn't, a junior officer approached her. "Admiral, Ambassador Seok's transmission just arrived." The council refused to help. "As expected," Youngmi said. She pressed a button on her command console. "Gentlemen, it's time. Activate Protocol Valkyrie, Protocol Valkyrie," the name humanity's leaders had given to their secret project. For 5 years, while the galaxy dismissed humans as primitive, Earth had been building not one experimental warship like the Indomitable. 30 of them, all hidden in asteroid fields behind moons in the dark spaces where no one thought to look. Across human space, stealth fields deactivated. 30 warships appeared on sensors, each one as advanced as the Indomitable, each one crewed by people who had lost someone to the Vrak, each one ready for war. "Broadcast to all ships," Youngmi ordered. "The galaxy abandoned us. The council betrayed us. But we will not be victims. We will not go quietly into the night. If the Vrak want war, we will give them war like they've never seen. All ships are to rendezvous at Luna Station. We make our stand at Earth." The junior officer looked confused. "Admiral, our intelligence shows the Vrak fleet heading toward the outer colonies. Why bring everyone to Earth?" Youngmi pulled up a tactical display. It showed the Vrak Grand Fleet, a massive armada of over 200 ships, and its course led straight toward humanity's homeworld. Because they're not going after colonies anymore. We humiliated them at Hansong Station. Now they want revenge. They're coming here to kill everyone, to make an example of us. She stood up, straightening her uniform. So we'll be ready. Every ship, every weapon, every person willing to fight. Earth will be our line in the sand. On the edge of human space, Captain Yunji stood on the bridge of the UNS Retribution. Her ship was identical to the Indomitable, built in the same secret shipyards. She had watched the battle footage from Hanseong Station a dozen times, memorizing every tactic Captain Daehyun had used. Navigation, set course for Luna Station. Best speed, she ordered. Aye, Captain. We'll arrive in 48 hours. Yunji looked at the tactical map showing all 30 human warships converging on Earth. 48 hours. That's how long humanity had to prepare for the largest battle in its history. She hoped it was enough. Meanwhile, in deep space, War Master Kraloth stared at his own tactical display. His grand fleet stretched across the void, 40 dreadnoughts and 200 support vessels. It was the largest force the Vrak Dominion had assembled in 50 years, more than enough to crush one primitive planet. Commander Thraz stood beside him, still bitter about surviving the defeat at Hanseong Station. He had escaped in a damaged fighter, one of the only survivors from the 5 destroyed dreadnoughts. War Master, the humans have shown themselves to be more dangerous than we thought. Perhaps we should reconsider this attack. Kraloth's clawed hand struck Thraz across the face, sending him stumbling backward. Reconsider? You coward! One lucky battle and you fear these animals? No, we will crush their homeworld. We will kill every human we find. We will burn their cities and salt their fields. And the rest of the galaxy will remember what happens to species who defy the Vrak. He turned back to the display, his eyes gleaming with hatred. They think they are warriors because they destroyed 5 ships. I bring 40 dreadnoughts. I bring the full might of the Vrak Dominion. Let them try to stop this. The fleet continued toward Earth, an unstoppable tide of death and destruction. But Kraloth didn't know about Protocol Valkyrie. He didn't know about the 30 human warships. He thought he was bringing overwhelming force against a helpless enemy. He was wrong. Back on the Indomitable, now docked at Hanseong Station for emergency repairs, Captain Daehyun reviewed damage reports. The ship was battered but still functional. Hyunwoo and his engineers were working around the clock to get all systems operational again. Commander Minji entered his ready room carrying a datapad. Sir, we just received orders from Admiral Youngmi. We're to return to Earth immediately once repairs are complete. The Vrak are coming. Daehyun looked up from his reports. How many ships? Over 200, sir. The entire Grand Fleet. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Daehyun stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. You know, Minji, I've been thinking about what we did here. 5 ships against 1. We shouldn't have won. By every logical calculation, we should be dead. But we're not, Minji said, because we refused to accept defeat, because we were willing to sacrifice everything for our people. Exactly. Daehyun turned to face her, and now the Vrak are bringing their full force against Earth. They think they can make us afraid. They think they can break us. He smiled, and it was not a kind smile. They're about to learn that fear and breaking are not in the human vocabulary. He pressed the shipwide intercom. All hands, this is the captain. I know you're all exhausted. I know you've earned rest after what we did here. But we don't have time for rest. The enemy is coming to Earth with their entire fleet. Our families are there. Our friends. Everything we love. So we're going back. We're going to stand with our brothers and sisters and show the galaxy what humans do when someone threatens our home. Repairs will be completed within 24 hours. Get some sleep if you can. When we reach Earth, we fight again. He released the intercom and looked at Minji. Think we can do it? Win against those odds? Minji considered the question seriously. Honestly, sir? I don't know. But I know we'll make them pay for every inch of space. I know we'll fight until we can't fight anymore. And I know that even if we lose, we'll lose in a way that the galaxy never forgets. That's good enough for me, Daehyun said. That's good enough. Across human space, 30 captains gave similar speeches to 30 crews. 100,000 people prepared for war. Earth mobilized its orbital defenses. Fighter squadrons launched drills. Marines practiced boarding actions. Scientists worked on last-minute improvements to weapons and shields. The Galactic Council watched all this activity with growing concern. They had thought humans would panic, would beg for help, would flee into deep space. Instead, humanity was preparing to fight. Every sensor showed military activity on a scale the Council hadn't seen from humans before. Vorath called an emergency session. "This changes things," he said to the assembled members. "Humanity has a fleet, a real fleet, and if they somehow survive the Vrak assault, then they become a new power in the galaxy," finished a council member, one that will remember we refused to help them. The council chamber filled with worried murmurs. They had made a mistake, but it was too late to fix it now. All they could do was wait and see if humanity survived, and if they did, deal with the consequences.